All right, so this lesson today is the introduction to 3.6. It's factoring trinomials in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c, where a and b and c are all either a constant or coefficients. And the difference between 3.5 and 3.6 is that a is going to be a number that's not just 1. If you recall from 3.5, we figured out how to factor trinomials as a product of two binomials, and this number was always 1. So we're going to talk about today what to do if that number is not 1. All right. So the first method, method 1, is solving by intuition. So method 1, it's solving using intuition. It's sort of a glorified guess and check, really. And when I say guess and check, I don't really mean that you just literally choose any random numbers, throw them in there, and then hope that that's the right answer. By intuition, this means that, hey, there's a sense that you have that these numbers could be right. And so it's a mixture of sort of trial and error and an educated guess. So I'm going to walk you through that a little bit. Some of the simplest types of polynomials in this form would be something like this. Let's say 2x squared plus 5x plus 2. So this is one of the simpler types of these polynomials. Now, you won't maybe realize why it's simple until the very end. So what we used to do in the past, right, if this 2 was a 1, we would just say, hey, what two numbers multiply to 2 and add up to 5? Well, the problem is that only works when a equals 1. See, if this is a 1, if there's no coefficient shown there, that method works. When we have a number that's not 1, then that method doesn't work. And I'm just going to go back to this example that we did at the end of the day yesterday. And no, I won't. Forget it. I don't have that step shown anymore. And the reason is because this 2 is a problem for that method. And I'll explain that just a little bit later. Okay, let's get back to it here. So when we have multiplied before, and I'm just going to show you, this is a separate example. So I'm going to do something like 2n plus 3 times n plus 7. Okay? So this is a different example for now, but I want to show you why that method that we used yesterday doesn't work. When we expand this, we get 2n squared plus 14n plus 3n plus 21. Simplified, it's 2n squared plus 17n plus 21. Now, that was a bit quick. That's quicker than I've gone before in the expansion, but hopefully at this point you were able to follow that. You were able to keep up. That's the FOIL method that I just did. See that? Each of these 4 terms is the product of first times outside times inside times last. Notice that we have a polynomial that's sort of similar to this one over here. Sort of. The fact is that the similarity is we have a 2 there, don't we? Now, if you look at this polynomial and you try and use the old method, the method that we learned yesterday, and you say, okay, let's find 2 numbers that multiply to 21 and that add up to 17. You could go, okay, 3 and 7. That multiplies to 21 but does not add to 17. Okay, 21 and 1. That multiplies to 21 but doesn't add up to 17. And as a matter of fact, you could go on forever, as many factors as there could be for any number, and this would not work. This would never work. Why? Because if you notice, 2n times n, 2n times 7, there's a number other than 1 here which messes up that whole method. So we have to come up with something different if a is not equal to 1. All right, so that was a bit of a flashback. Let's go back here to this example. And what I want you to notice, if we can go back to this example maybe just one more time, that the 3 and the 7, do you notice I've still multiplied the 3 times the 7 to get 21? See that? So 3 times 7 at the very end still equals 21. So that's good. That is a good thing. And also, 2n times n is 2n squared. So the first terms and the last terms still give you part of the answer when you multiply. What that means is that factors of 2 and factors of 2 are still important when we're factoring this. What I mean by that is this. When we multiply two binomials, if this is factorable, and all the ones I'll give you are factorable right now, if we can factor this trinomial into two binomials, and this is important, the first term has to come from the product of the first terms in these factors. So that means that whatever goes here and here have to be factors of 2x squared. Okay? So that's step one, that whatever goes here and goes here, they have to be factors of this first term right here. And what are the factors of 2? It's prime, so just 2 and 1, right? And notice we have an x squared. And so for these, we always have the x, just like before. And you have to put the factors as coefficients here. So 2 and 1. And I'm just going to write that 1 for now so that you can see what we're doing. All right, so your intuition, okay, your guess and check. You know that these first two terms have to multiply to this term. And so you guess, hey, there's only one combination of factors for 2, and that's 2 and 1, so I'm going to put 2x and 1x there. Okay? That's the first step in your intuition. The second step that we want to notice is, as I said over here, the last terms, when you multiply them, they always equal the constant term, and that still holds true for this method. So I'm just going to erase some of these lines so it's not so confusing. I'm going to get rid of that 1 too, because we don't want the 1 in there really. And I'll use blue. And so I'm looking for factors of this constant term to go here and here. 1 and 2. Yes, very good. Now, it's either 1 and 2, or it's 2 and 1. So here is where you have to do the little bit of guess and check. If you're good at mental math, this is going to come really quickly to you. And this is what I'm saying. Now, we know that it has to be 1 or 2 and 1. Please notice that this is a positive, that's a plus, and this is a plus. When you see that, you're pretty much guaranteed this is going to be a plus and this is going to be a plus as well. Okay? So right now, you've guessed that, hey, this might be the factored form. And you want to check this, okay? So let's check this. How can we do that? You do a quick FOIL. The guess and the check is a quick FOIL. That's the check part. So 2x times x is 2x squared. That's good. We got that there. Now, the middle term comes from 2x times 1 plus 2x. So what's 2x plus 2x? That equals 4x. Is that the same as this middle term? No, it's not. So that's where you just do a little bit of mental math. You go 2x plus 2x. Oh, not 5x. So guess what? You got to go back and you have to adjust. So you said that, hey, it's going to be 2 and 1 or 1 and 2. So let's try 1 and 2. And see if that gets us the middle term that we want. 2x times 2 is 4x. 1x times, or 1 times x is x. What does this equal when we add those up? Hey, 5x, that's what I'm looking for. Ding, 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 you're the winner. Okay? So, what that means is, you used your intuition to say, the first term has to come from this term times this term, and the last term has to come from this term times this term. And the guess and check part is when you just do a quick FOIL to see which order they go in. Okay? Now this is a simple example because the only two factors of 2 are 2 and 1, and there's not a lot of kind of mental math to go through. But that's how you do intuition. And the reason why I'm showing that method first is because many of you will prefer this method. There is another method that I'm going to teach you that's, some of you may love it, some of you may really hate it, but it's more methodical, okay? There's definite steps, and you do these definite steps, and you get the right answer. So, I'm going to practice with you this intuition, though, a little bit more, all right? So let's do some more examples here. So let's use our intuition to factor this one here. Let's say this is example 2, the second one. Okay, So this is a trinomial, and we know it's going to be factorable, because I'm going to give you just factorable ones for now. And what you know is your intuition says that the first two terms have to multiply to this term. So guess what? You put 2w and w in there. Very good. Okay? Your intuition says this. Your intuition also, you look over at the constant term, and you know that these two terms have to multiply to 6. Okay? And you might say, well, I'm going to try 2 and 3. And because this is plus and this is plus, I'm going to make this plus and plus here too. Now is where you get your mental math on, and you say, I'm going to quickly check the middle term, because I know the first two terms are good, because that's why I put the terms where they are. But I need to check if this combination gives me the middle term. So this is what you do. You go 2w times 3, 6w. 2 times w is 2w, and that is sum of 8w. Is that what I have here? Okay, so that didn't work. So you back up and you say, okay, I'm going to try a different order. Okay, so let's say instead of the 2 here and the 3 there, I'm going to put the 3 there and the 2 like this. So it's going to be 3 and 2. And you don't even have to write this stuff down, do you? You've multiplied. 2w times 2 that's 4w, and 3w. What's 4w plus 3w? 7w. That's not what I have either. So I've taken about 17 seconds to do both of those trials in my head. It's going to take you about 3. Okay? Once you get good at this. So now you say, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? And you realize that, hey, there's another option for factors for 6. Yes, 6 and 1. And so this is what you do. You get your pencil out and you erase your markings there, because you're doing this in pencil, please, because if you have to write this down and do the trial and error, you're going to have to erase. So please do that. So let's try this. 6 and 1. Oh, did I erase a plus there? Yeah. Okay, 6 and 1. And so you go 2w plus 6w is, 8w. That doesn't work either. So guess what's the last combination that you can try? 1 and 6. Now you may be saying, well, that's a lot of writing and erasing, Mr. Maxwell. You know, you'll get to this point and you won't even have to write down all the combinations. You'll be able to even do that in your head. You'll be able to envision, hey, I have a 6 here, or I have a 3 there, or a 2 there, whatever. So you do a quick FOIL. 12w plus 1w is 13w. We have a winner. That's the same. So guess what? You can do a quick FOIL and double check everything, and you would find that this is the factored form. Okay? Guess and check. Intuition. I don't like to say trial and error. I don't like to say guess and check. I like to call it by intuition. I think the textbook maybe does too. So it's not just a trial and error. It's, hey, I have an idea of what this should look like, and so you just run through. Okay, let's do another one. Okay, so here's example 3. 6g squared minus 21g plus 15. All right. I'm going to try and break this down. Intuition, put my brackets. I'll look at the first term. What options do I have for factors? I have 6g and g, and I have 3g and 2g. Now, usually, I'm not sure why this is, but usually you want to pick the factors that are closest together first. That's not always going to happen, but that's a good way to start. And so lots of times you want to pick the factors that are closer together. And so I'm going to pick 3g and 2g. Now I may have to erase this. I may have to change this later, but that's what I'm going to pick. And then you go ahead and you pick 2 factors for 15. Now the factors for 15, 1 and 15 and 3 and 5. Pick the ones that are closest together. 3, 5. Please notice, now we're looking at the signs here. So what goes in here, plus or minus? Well, your intuition would say this, that this sum has to be a negative and this product has to be a positive. So am I going to do plus and plus to multiply to a positive, knowing that the sum has to be negative? Or should maybe I think about doing a minus and a minus? Because this sum is a minus, you should think about minus and minus. That's the third part of your intuition. You look at these two terms and then you examine the signs. Okay? So I'm going to try negative and negative because A negative term plus another negative term is going to give me a negative answer, and a negative times a negative is going to give me a positive. Are you with me so far? Okay. Hopefully you're starting to catch on just a little bit about this intuition. So here's my guess. Now I'm going to quickly check. I know that the first terms and the last terms check out. So let's check the middle, or the O and the I, the outsides and the insides. So this is going to be what? 15g minus 15g. This is going to be minus 6g. What does that add up to? Whoa, minus 21g. Look at, we hit the jackpot the first time. We hit the jackpot the first time. So the middle terms, when you multiply the middle terms and the outside terms, you get negative 21, and that's exactly what you want. So then you say, all right, I got it. That is the factored form. And you're done. Yes, that happened pretty quick. We got it on our first try. But if you use your intuition, and if you remember the factors that are closer to one another, if you remember that trick, you're also going to get things a bit quicker. All right, so I want you to try this on your own. The trinomial is 2n squared plus 11n minus 6. So try and factor this by intuition and do your mental checks and see if you can come up with an answer, okay? Go ahead. All right, so this is the right answer. And what I want you to notice is a couple things. When we talk about intuition, right? 2n squared, that's got to come from the product of these two terms. And 2 only has two factors, 2 and 1. So that's 2n and n. The other thing that you want to notice right away is this is negative 6. So factors of negative 6 could be 3 and negative 2. They could be negative 3 and 2. They could be 6 and negative 1, or negative 6 and positive 1. And so you have a lot of different options there. Okay? So I want to go back, and I want to just see, did anyone try this first? You may have erased it already. But let's say you tried this combination. Your quick FOIL would say, that's negative 4n and plus 3n. Okay, so that's negative n. That's not what I have as the middle term. You would quickly reject this. So let's say, well, I'm going to flip the signs there, the 3 and 2, because I'm going to stick with 3 and 2. I'll just try flipping the signs. That's going to give me 4 minus 3 is positive n. That's not what I have either. You reject that one. What about 6 and 1? Well, negative 2 plus 6 is positive 4. I don't have that. And so you just kind of keep mentally switching, different things around. And then finally you should come up with this right here as your final product. Okay? Okay, it might be getting a little tougher here, I'm not sure. Factor this one. See what you can do there. if we look at this 10r squared, I'm going to start with 5r and 2r first. Because why? They're the factors that are closest together. Always a good idea to start with. Okay. Now 7 only has 2. It's 7 and 1. Now, before you put anything down, you may be at the point where you're saying, hey, the middle term has to be, this is a pretty large number, first of all, 33, and it's got to be negative. So 5 times what will get me close to negative 33? Yeah, 7. 5 times 7 is 35. And if this has to be negative, let's go negative 35. Because this is negative, you know this has to be positive. And 7 times what? Well, it's got to be 1. So again, the little bit of information that I've added here for you is to look at this term and to say, okay, 5 times 7 will get me pretty close to 35, so why don't I try 7 there? And then you do your quick FOIL here, negative 35r plus 2r is negative 33r. That is the one you're looking for, so your answer, 5r plus 1, whoa, times 2r minus 7. Final answer. And you can do a full FOIL method check on that too, but anyways, there you go. Okay, so hope you got that for an answer. Now this concludes the lesson on intuition. We're going to do a method called decomposition tomorrow, whenever, next class, Monday. And so I want you guys to work on this assignment here today. Here's your assignment, and I want you to use the intuition method that we've just been talking about here for these questions.